Okay, so I'm here now to talk to you about your science course. So I'm going to go ahead and go in and talk to you about how your science course is laid out. I think I'm going to do Unit 2 this time. Notice again, we have the purpose points. And then if we expand, we have our quizzes and our studies, and then we have practices and projects, very much like writing assignments in English. These are places where you will do specific science things, and I'll show you how those work. And also, we have discussions and labs. This is very important in English or in science. And then we have our CSTs, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go into a study. So I'm going to go ahead and go into this first study. We have our blue keywords. We have our study guide. In this one, and a lot of things in science have to do with the graphics that are in it. So if I click on each one of these, it tells me information about each picture. So I wanted to specifically show you a couple of diagrams and some examples of how they use these. So I'm going to go to page 3. And on page 3, once it loads, you're going to see this image that talks about potential energy and kinetic energy, which are two big vocabulary words, but this image, for me, visuals are very effective. This image really explains how this is potential energy because he's about to jump. This is kinetic energy because he has jumped, right? Very good graphic to show that, and really communicates the point of what potential versus kinetic energy is. The interactives and videos, of course, are important, and of course, they put this in a box, so it's probably important, right? We need to know this formula. And here we have a checkup, just like all of the other classes, which has more kinetic energy, the airplane, because it has more mass and it's moving more quickly. Okay, so we have these checkups where you can check and see things. And I wholeheartedly encourage you to make sure you're doing your checkups. This is really important for science. So a lot of times science has videos that they expect you to watch, right? If you go to the transcript, you're going to get the transcript of the video, and a lot of times the lesson answers that you need in the study will be in the transcript of this video. So you need to do one of two things: watch the video or go through and read all the transcripts. Make sure you're doing this regardless, okay? And one last thing I wanted to show you was on page 10. And this is going to be another checkup. But the thing about this checkup is we have our drag, right? So we can drag and put the answers, match the answers with their descriptions. Remember, if you have a text box where you're checking things up, you should type something in there and check and see your answer. So now let's go ahead and look at some of the other things that you're going to have in science, okay? So you're going to have practice, okay? Practice, like you're writing an assignment for English, the practice tells you what your project is going to be about. Does that make sense? So practice leads to the project. In English, the practice leads to the writing prompt. So you'll answer these questions, right? And then, by the way, when you click continue, that's how you get your little check mark. Then we go to the project, which is where you actually get the grade for it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this project. And again, you should save this to your Google Drive, share this with your teacher. They're going to give you some challenge that you need to do, and turn this in to your teacher, right? So you should be doing these projects, okay? In addition to projects and practices, science also has the all-important labs, okay? Labs are important to science teachers. I don't think this is news to any of you, okay? So they're going to give you directions to do a wet lab or a dry lab. You're going to talk to the teacher about which one. For the most part, we do the dry labs, okay? So you're going to click on the dry lab, and this is what you need to complete for your lab for this lesson, okay? So this will be a document with information. Again, you're going to fill it out, right? You're going to read through this, and you're going to answer the questions, okay? Okay. In addition to labs and projects, we also have discussions in science. And the discussions in science are very much like a discussion in English, where you're going to have a question. In this case, you actually have 2 questions. You're going to choose one, and you're going to write a response where you explain the answers to the questions and use some knowledge based on your experiments. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and do this discussion, 4 to 5 sentences. Make sure you include details from the study, from what you've learned from your experiments. And of course, when we've done all that, we're going to be ready for our CST, which again needs to be unlocked and is a multiple choice test, much like the quizzes that you do in Apex. Okay, hope you do great in science.